Hi, this is part 2 of question 2 of my blueprint video application. Now, the point of that long, absurd story was to try and illustrate the absurdity in the argument that's being made here, right? And what is that argument? The argument is that University Hospital could simply reduce the amount of time that patients are spending there on average and not affect the quality of care, okay? Now, the key to detecting the flaw with this argument is by looking at the two pieces of evidence and seeing how they justify the argument. Okay, so our first piece of evidence, which we've talked about, is that patients on average are getting out 2 days faster at Edgewater than they are at University. The second piece of information, which is the most important part, is that for patients with similar illnesses, they are having similar rates of recovery. Now be careful. That is not saying that people at Edgewater are being treated for the exact same things that everybody at University is being treated for. Okay? That's saying for a select group of people, which is people who have the same illnesses, they are having similar rates of recovery. So let's give some numbers to this situation. Let's say that at Edgewater there are a total of 100 people, and at University there are a total of 100 people. And this study that the crazy doctor was referring to about similar illnesses and similar rates of recovery, that was based on 5 people at Edgewater and 5 people at University that had the flu. Okay? So for that group of 10 people that all had the flu, they had similar rates of recovery. Now, the other key piece of information in this problem is that on average, people are getting out of Edgewater faster than they are at University. Now, where does an average come from? An average comes from the entire pool of people at each hospital, right? So, we talked about 10 people that had the same illness. What about the other 190 people at these hospitals that don't have the flu? Do we know anything about what illnesses they have? No. Okay? Consider this, right? Let's say that Edgewater is located in a hip, gentrified neighborhood, right? Most of the people who go there are young, wealthy yuppies, right? They don't get sick much. And when they do get sick, it's usually pretty minor. Wouldn't that result in shorter stays? What if, on the other hand, University Hospital is located in a part of the city where mostly older people live? Wouldn't their illnesses tend to be more serious, and wouldn't they cause their stays to be longer, right? Did the passage ever rule out that possibility? Do we know anything about what these patients are being treated for at each hospital? No. And if it's possible that older people with more serious illnesses are going to University, wouldn't that account for the extra 2 days that they're spending on average there? Okay? And if that's the case, would it make any sense at all to simply arbitrarily reduce the amount of time that they're spending at University to try and get it something closer to what Edgewater is doing? No, it wouldn't make any sense at all. Okay, there's the absurdity in this argument. Let's see if any of these answer choices speak to that reasoning. Okay, C says fails to take into account the possibility that patients at Edgewater Hospital tend to be treated for different illnesses than patients at University Hospital. That fits exactly what we're saying, right? In a very subtle way, they tried to get you to think that because of that study, patients were being treated for the same exact things at both places, right? When in fact, if you look very carefully at the wording, it's patients with similar illnesses, right? And we have known that could be a very small group out of the total at both places. Okay, so be very careful with flaw arguments. Look very carefully at the evidence that's being used and the argument that that evidence is supporting.